Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now the saying goes, the devil makes work for idle hands. When you've had a delay of the Cobra Pack 2 for a week and the country decides to shut down again, it's time to take things into your own hands. Run the intro.
There's a lot of designing, testing, and trial runs behind every new innovation or new performance record. How do I know? My name's Carroll Shelby, and performance is my business.
So yeah, lovely to have you back guys, and today we're going to be building pack 2 of Agora models 1/8 scale Shelby Cobra, and in that pack it's the big 7-litre V8 motor. So let me fill you in where we're at. I got a shipping notification on a Wednesday a couple of weeks back. The pack didn't arrive till the Wednesday after. I take a day off usually to film these builds, so I had 3 days just twiddling my thumbs a little bit, and that's the worst thing that can happen. So I got the airbrush out and started painting some of pack 1. Also, I downloaded the instructions in anticipation of the pack arriving. Looking through that lovely beautiful 7-litre V8 motor, it was just one silver block. And I thought I didn't want it like that. I want some paints, I want some colours, and I want a bit of extra texture on there. So that's exactly what I've done. So I'm not going to go into it too much. You're going to see painted parts from the off that is different from the plan. So hopefully when it all comes together, it's going to look fantastic. So without further ado, let's start stage 7, would it be? Yeah, stage 7. Right, we're down on the desk and there's a lot to get through today, so I really want to get through this pack. Pack 1 ended with stage 6 and pack 2 starts with stage 7 and we go through to stage 15. So as I say, there's quite a bit to do. I'm not going to go through the screws, glues and oils and stuff like that. If you go back and watch the first video, you'll find out all about that sort of stuff. So we're going to start, as I say, with stage 7, and that is assembling the alternator. So what we've got the alternator housing, the alternator bottom or backing, and the pulley wheel. And as you can see, I'm going to show you now, I've just detail painted stuff. A lot of it was the same silver plastic. Some stuff I haven't painted, some stuff I've given a gloss finish to or a matte finish to, just to reflect the metals being used. In my reference photos, lots of different finishes to the metal, so I've just detailed, and that's what you're going to see throughout today's build. First things first, we get the alternator housing and the backing or bottom, and that's got some location lug holes and some location pins on it. We just align those and place it in like that, so that's the alternator together there. And then the next thing we do is we get the pulley, and that has a little notch there, and the alternator housing has a little recessed notch, and we just pass that through until they locate like that. And then we're going to use what we found out is our go-to screw for plastics, is the OPO3 screw. So I've got one of these here. I've actually got a pill box with all the screws in now, so I'm keeping them all safe. We just attach that again, hand tight, and that's on there like that, maybe a little tighter. There you go, that's together. So that's step 1 of that. The next step is to get the mounting arm over. So these are freshly out of the painted section, and the mounting plate. So we locate the mounting arm around where those locating pins are. So that's where the swing arm attaches, and we're going to attach those with OPO6 screws. There's a couple there, so load up the screw and line the swing arm, and there's no location here, so, and that is in just loosely. I've not fully put that in. So that's the swing arm on, and then we get the mounting plate, and there's a little recess here, and that's the way it orientates that way up. And that again is going to attach there with an OPO6 screw. So I load that up. And we're going to attach it just there. So I'm going to pass the screw just through that part first. And we're going to go in there. So there's that bit done. So the next part is to get the front of the engine assembly that we did in pack 1. And again, I'm going to switch that around the right way. Again, I've just given texture. So I've given these different finishes as a chrome finish for that bracket there. I've painted the underneath of the oil filter can. This metal here is a very rough casting. So there's about 3 different finishes going on there. So I just think that looks really great. And it's just going to add that extra detail that I want on the engine. Even though we're not going to see it too much, I know it's there. So we're going to attach the swing arm and the swing plate here, and again we're going to be using OPO6 screws, 2 of those. I'm going to do the mounting plate first, and that goes onto there. So load up another screw, and again I'm not going to go too tight straight away. So then we pass over the swing arm. There, that fits in like that nicely, and again line up the hole, and we're going through there nicely. So they're all in there, so I'm just going to tighten up all of those parts again. There you go, and I'm happy with that straight away. As you can see, there's sort of rough casting here, different textures, and I think that looks brilliant already. So that is stage 7 complete, the little alternator assembly together, and I'm really happy. So we go on to stage 8, and this is the water pump pulley, the crankshaft pulley, and then it will be the timing belt cover. So this is the water pump pulley, and we got some location pins, and again I'm really happy with the finish I've got. This was just a black part, I've chromed it up, put some detail on the bolts that are there, give a little bit of weathering even as well. So I'm really happy how that looks. So we've got little, again it's all about location pins and location lug holes. We just place them together, and the screw hole is there, and we're going to put an OPO5 screw. I've got one of these here, just load up the screw again. It's all located so I can't go anywhere with it. So again, hand tight, and that's enough. Onto the crankshaft pulley, and I've actually, when I painted this, I put this together. I'm not sure if it's going to come apart again. We're not going to bother, but it just again locates with a pin and a hole, and I actually painted those together, so it's actually assembled already. And all we have to do is, again, there's our friend the screw hole and our old friend OPO3. So we've got one of them loaded up, driven through, and that's the crankshaft pulley and the water pulley assembled. As I say again, I've just given different, they were very similar looking pieces, and I've just added a little bit of difference to that. So really happy with those, they're complete. So step 2 of stage 8 is to bring back over the alternator assembly, and we're going to attach the water pump pulley first, which is that part, and we're going to align it just on the front there. And that again, OPO3 screw. So just flip over the part, get him in there. I'm just holding the pulley a bit better. He's spinning around, and that goes on there really nicely. I'm really happy. The next step for that is to bring over the timing belt cover, and here we have that. And again, this one is a real rough looking casting in the reference photos, and that's what I've tried to do. I had the airbrush quite far away, so the paint actually dries as it's hitting, and then I hit it with some flat clear coat, detail some of the bolts. So I'm really happy with that part. So we flip the alternator assembly over, and again we've got the screw hole and the little location lug hole. We've got the pin and the screw hole on the assembly there. Flip that over. And that just locates like that. Again, you're not going to see much of that behind, but I know it's there. Again, our old favourite, OP03. So load up my screw, it's all on there pretty well with the location. And that's in there nicely. Next step is to attach the crankshaft pulley. So that locates in there quite nicely and fits together with an OP07 screw. And that goes in there like that. Last thing to attach is the actual timing belt. So let's get that over. So we've got the timing belt over, and it's rubber, but it's quite a hard rubber. It's sort of shaped how we want it to go anyway. So I'm going to give that a go now. So they're over those two, and then hopefully just over the alternator pulley. Oh yeah, that's on there quite nicely. That's stage 8 complete. Now stages 9 and 10 are to attach the exhaust manifolds to the right and left cylinder head covers. Now I don't think that's a good idea to do that at this stage, as we're going to be handling these parts again after that and attaching it to the engine block, and these exhaust manifolds are going to be sticking out the sides. We'll bypass these two stages for the moment. So we'll go on to stage 11. Stage 11 is the rocker covers, caps and spark wire holders. And the first thing to do is to identify the right rocker cover, which is that one, and we've got to attach a detail which is the rocker cover cap, so get that one out of the way. And that is this part here, and some stuff, as I said, there's some stuff I haven't painted, and that will just add to the different textures and finishes and colours. So that part fixes into there, attached with a screw, and that's an OP05 screw. So we're just gonna place that in there. That's the rocker cover cap on the right hand side. Next thing to do is get the left cover cap, and that has got, I didn't say about the right one, but it's got an L and R on the inside of that. Most of these parts that are right and left have pairs will be marked up like that, so it's easy to identify. So we get the left one, and we're going to attach the left cover cap to that. This one doesn't need a screw, so that is that part here. And again, I haven't painted that bit, it's really nicely finished. And we just pop that onto that side so it's flush. There we go. So for the next step, we get the cylinder head covers back over. As I said, I didn't want the exhaust manifolds sticking out the sides as we're still assembling this part. So what we do, we got the right and the left of each part here, and we just locate on here. Again, we've got a location pin and a location lug, and we attach those with OP03s. So we've got the screws over. I'm going to load one up, make sure this is located again. There's one in. That's the cylinder head cover on the left hand side, and we're going to do exactly the same for the right hand side. Second screw in, and they're done. So the next step to do of stage 11 is to attach the spark wire holders, and they're little plastic pieces that go in these little slots in the rocker cover. There's a little plastic piece, and we've got a tapered side, this is this side, and a flat side. The flat side needs to go towards the Shelby logo. So I'm just going to line that up. I think they click in. So a little bit of brute force maybe. So So I've tried to insert these just with a friction fit, but it doesn't seem to want to work. So I'm going to drop a little bit of glue in there. I thought they would click in, but I think it's just a friction fit, and mine, I've cleared it. It gives the advice to clear that slot with a hobby knife, which I've done. Still not confident in it. So we've got a bit of glue in that one. Okay, so they're in there. Don't think I'm ever going to get them out. So that's that stage complete. Stage 12 is the distributor, fuel filter, ignition coil and cylinder head cap. So we bring the engine block that we did in pack 1, stage 4. So that had the carburetor and carburetor housing and the top of the engine block. So here it is. So I don't know if you remember, if you go back and watch the other video, the carburetor housing was just again a silver piece, plastic piece. So I've chromed that up with Alclads. I've just detailed some of the bolts and stuff like that. A little bit of weathering inside there, a little bit of weathering on the engine block, but again, I'm really over the moon how that has come out. So that's just going to add that little bit of pizzazz to the top of the engine when we open the boot. So I'm really open the bonnet. So I'm really happy with that. So step 1 is to attach the distributor, and I think that's going to go there. Let's get that over. There we go. So I've given it a satin finish, so it looks like a plastic piece. That's just a black piece, black plastic piece in the pack. So I've just reference photos, there's blue ones, there's red ones. I went for a red one. So there's that piece, and that attaches with an OPO3. Here we go, got a loaded screw, and I think it's located, yeah, it's half semicircle location, and the location in the engine block is exactly the same, so it only orientates one way, and that pops in there like that. Got the screw loaded up, put our finger on the distributor, flip the engine block, drive our screw in, not too tight. Next piece to attach is the fuel filter. Again, another piece I didn't paint. Again, this is located half semicircle location piece, and again OPO3. Flip the part over. Another lovely detail added. Step 2 is to get the left cylinder head assembly back over, and we're going to add some more details to that. Cylinder head cover cap and the ignition coil we're going to fix on there. So we've got the cylinder head cover cap again over here from the painting booth. Let's get this bit of blue tack off, and again this was a black piece. I've chromed it up, giving it a little bit of black wash just to pick out the details so it looks like a metal part. So that goes, again a location semicircle, and that just plops in there like that. The next part to add is the ignition coil, just on here. So that is stage 12 complete. Right, stage 13, engine blocks, cooling fluid tank bracket. Next thing we want to do is bring over the cylinder head assemblies, which are here, right and left. We're going to do this one first and locate those on. And because these are the metal parts, it's going to be a metal screw, and it's an ODO3 screw. Load up our screw, and as it's a metal screw, what we probably should do is get a bit of oil out. So I'll bring my pack over I had for the glue, and I'm just going to put a little bit of oil in that recess there. Load up a screw, dip it in some oil. We're just holding the pieces together a bit better. So that's the left hand side done. We're going to do exactly the same for the right hand side. locate the pins, load up a screw, dip a bit in a bit of oil. There you go, and we're just going to drive in there again. That is stage 13 complete. And again, I didn't mention the engine block, but it was just a satin semi-gloss black. Originally I did do, I don't know if you can see there, but I did do it in Ford Racing Blue, the engine block, but I thought maybe that was a little bit of sacrilege. I don't know how people feel about that, but we've gone for black. So I had the rocker covers were black. I thought the engine block would look quite good in black with the cylinder head covers just peeking out there. I'm really excited how this is going to look at the end of this, folks. Stage 14 is going to be the flywheel cover, gearbox inspection cover and gearbox rods. Step 1 is to get our inspection cover over. We're going to attach 2 OPO7 screws. Yep, that one's in. That's the second one, and actually I don't know if you can see, but they're going to act as sort of hooks that slide between a part and then will be clamped together. So not actually screwing into something. And we get the right engine block assembly back over, and then we get the right flywheel cover assembly over. Both of them here. That is the right one. I'm going to attach this to the engine block just here. So again, location pin, lug hole, and it's going to go over like that. And we're using an ODO free screw. Load up the screw, dip it in a little bit of oil, ODO 3. There we go. As you can see, I did the flywheel cover in a sort of dark aluminium, and it just again just juxtaposes against some of the other colours, some of the other finishes. So with the right flywheel cover on, we're just going to get the left hand one over now, and we're going to attach the 2 parts together. And again, there's 2 lug holes there, 2 screw holes that side, so they're lined up. Load up a screw. I didn't know if you noticed in the intro, but I got a new Shelby t-shirt. That one up, I won't tighten that fully. Load up the other screw, dip that, away we go, drive that in there. And that one's tight as well. So we're getting there. So the next step of stage 14 is attaching the gearboxes to this whole assembly. So we're going to attach the right hand one, which is this one here. It's got the R on it there. We line that up, and that again, it's the lug, location pin, ODO 3. I'll load one up, load my screw up, dip in the oil, grab the assembly supporting it. That's in there nice and tight. So the next part is to attach the inspection cover, and this is where we're going to see how these screws play out a little bit. So it just sort of slides over there. So obviously we're going to clamp together with the left hand side, and that's got the recesses for those screws of the inspection cover there, and then we've got 2 screw holes that will come out the right hand side. So you just locate here. Wait a moment. Dip my ODOs, and again, apologies for my squeaky chair. I haven't got a new one yet. So I'm just going to go a little bit in with that one. Load up my second. Drive that in a bit more. And that is all in there. So I'm just going to turn this round to you. The next things we're going to be attaching is the gearbox rods. Here's our gearbox rods, 1, 2 and 3. I don't know which one's which, but I think it goes from shortest to longest pretty much. Let's try number 1. It goes from, let's turn that up a little bit. So number one goes from this hole to the top hole there, I believe. I think that's how it's going to go. So it just pops in there, and it's actually wanting to go in there straight away. There we go, that one pops in there. So the second rod goes from that hole there to the bottom hole. So that in there, that pops in there nicely, and again that's just wanting to go over there straight away. There you go, they're in there. Number three, we don't attach quite yet because we've got to put an extra piece just over those two. So we grab what's called rod number 3 bracket, and apparently that's just going to locate in there again. Rod number 3. So it goes in here, that locates in there nicely, locates in its little bracket, that one's in there. And that's all the 3 rods on the side of the gearbox, painted and detailed. They were just silver parts against the silver background. A stage 14 complete. Stage 15 is the oil pan, protective plate, spark plugs, spark plug wire and wire connectors. Here's the 2 parts, the protective plate and the oil pan or sump, whatever you want to call it here in the UK. So I finished that in like a rough cast again, picked out the bolts, did it in black, so that goes a little bit with the engine block. The engine block's in a satin, this is more of a flat. The sump oil pan, nicely chromed up with alclads. So we're going to locate with the screw holes our little location lug, but that clicks in quite nicely there. OPO 3 screws. It goes in there just nice and loose. Load the other one up. Just tighten. That's what those 2 pieces look like together. Now the next step is to go back to, I think, yeah, they were OPO 7 screws. So these were those flange screws that acted as a hook, like we did with the inspection cover on the gearbox. So I've got 2 here. And I found with the inspection cover, just to drive them all the way home is fine. You can always give them a half a turn back off if we need to when fitting. So that is step 1 of stage 15 definitely done there. Back to the top of the engine block again, and again we're going to be preparing this part, and we're going to be using ODO 4 screws, and they're the equivalent of the OPO 7s, where they're an anchor. That's what they're calling them, they're an anchor screw. So we'll get 2 of those. I've still got a bit of oil here, dip in our oil, and it's these 2 screw holes here. One in. They've actually got like a little notch there that you can't screw them fully in. They stay raised up a little bit. So be preparing those 2 parts like that. So I'm just going to get those out of the way again. So here we are back with the beast. So how did we have that? That all sits okay like that, doesn't it? The first thing to do is put in the fluid tank bracket, and that slots in there. Cooling fluid tank bracket is on there. The next part is to get the alternator assembly back over again, and that's going to attach just in there like that, and that's going to be attached with an ODO 3 screw. So that slots in there. So I'm going to dip a bit of oil and we're going to go through there. That's as tight as that goes. Everything in there is in there pretty good. Right, let's carry on. Sump or oil pan protective plate, bring that back in, slot them under there with those little anchor screws again. So here we are, we've got the part here. So these should hopefully just slide over again. So that is the sump and protective plate in. Next thing to go for is the engine, the top of the engine block again. So we're going to get that back over. That is going to locate. Yeah, we've got the distributor at the front there. So we're just going to slide these over again. I'm just going to lay that back on there because it's a bit, I don't want to chip any of this paint. So yeah, let's just bring those screws back a little bit. Just tighten those up a little bit over that sleeve. They're in there. So we're going to encase it now with the left hand cylinder head side assembly. So just making sure before we do that, you want to just make sure that the protective plate and sump part and the engine block part are in there quite nicely. You don't want them loose, as we're going to encase that and you won't be able to get in there unless you disassemble it all. And here it is. So obviously it's 2 screws in there. Without looking, I'm guessing they're going to be OD03s. They're going to be passed through the 2 holes here. So let's see what that just looks like. And then we've got some location slots here which will hopefully slide over those 2 other screws there. And we've got some on the bottom as well for the protective plate side of things. So this could be a case of disassembling everything again in a minute. Let's check if they were OD03s. And indeed they are. Put them in some oil. Again, not all the way tight. I'm trying not to knock any pieces off as I'm picking this part up. It's very hard to not forget the delicate little bits that are on here now. Let's say that is done there. That's one hefty block of metal. That's a pretty hefty, nice piece of metal there. That's the main engine piece done. And now we're going to start applying the spark plugs, spark plug wires and such. And it's saying to put spark plugs in the holes. I'm not sure that's a good idea. What I'm going to attempt is to make the harness, the wiring harness, offline on the table here. So you have the plug and the spark plug made up, and I then just plug each part in. So I'm going to try that. So in resetting to tackle the final steps of today's pack, I discovered we've lost the side camera there for a bit, so I apologise for that. Hope it doesn't hamper your viewing of the video too much, but we've got it back now for the final 2 steps. And whilst doing that, I had a bit of a rethink, and for the interests of your sanity in watching me and my sanity of actually fitting all of these fiddly parts all on camera, I've gone ahead and attached most of our final parts off camera, leaving us 4 parts to complete today's pack. They are 2 exhaust manifold pipes and 2 spark plugs and spark plug wires. I think we'll start with the exhaust manifold pipes, and if you remember, they wanted us to fit these in stages 9 and 10 way back, but I didn't see the point in doing that, so we're just going to do it now right at the end here. Okay, so they all have a number stamped on the pipe, and that corresponds with the outlet that's got the same number stamped on it. So it's just a case of orientating the pipe round the right way and just popping it in there, and it's just a friction fit really. That fits in there fine, and they gather up together like that. That was exhaust manifold number 5 going into 5 outlet, and the other one is number 1. So again, it's got a notch on there, but it's just a friction fit. Again, I don't know if you can see, but it's got number 1 there, and the outlet has number 1 written on it as well. So again, it's a case of orientating it the right way round and just popping it in like that. So there you go, that's the exhaust manifold pipes done. We just did it later on in the stage at the end here, it's just as easy. So as I say, I don't know if you wanted to watch me fiddle around with the spark plug wires going into the distributor because it was very fiddly. So we're going to complete today's pack with the last 2 spark plug wires. So how we constructed them was we had a length of spark plug wire, we had the wire connectors on a sprue and the spark plugs on a sprue as well. I detailed the spark plugs with a bit of paint, white, silver and red, just to detail them. Don't know if you can see that. Connectors were just black anyway, so I just snipped them off with my side cutters, measured and cut all of the spark plug wires to length, and then constructed them like this. So that's how what one looks like. So that is spark plug wire number 2. And I found the best thing to do was to attach the connector to the distributor first. So we can see if we can do that. So that's in there. And then the spark plug could go in its slot like that. And then you just guide it over to the holder and apply a little bit of pressure and it should just slip into the gap. We just spin it round and we're going to do number 6. So that's that one here. Insert the spark plug like that, guide it over to the holder and apply pressure again, and that is stage 15 over. I didn't want you to watch me putting that all in. That would have taken a lot of time and would have been very laborious for you and me. But there you go, really happy. And that is stage 15 complete and pack 2 complete. And as I'm probably gonna have to edit out of this video many times, and I've said it already many times, I'm just loving how that went together and how the paints look and how this engine looks just a little bit better than straight out of the box. So I'd love some feedback in the comment section. Kind of circles us round to how this started a few weeks ago when I didn't get the delivery for this and I'd already started fiddling around with the front wheel, painted that black, chromed up the knockoff and weathered the tyre a little bit. And that leads me to another request for more feedback in the comment section. I don't know if you've watched my channel intro video, but I collect Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars. And in that I've got lots of Cobras that are in a raw state, a raw aluminium, polished aluminium. And I love Cobras that are in that state, real life Cobras that are like that. So that is my big question to you. Should I or shouldn't I strip this and just polish it? Now the air intake here is plastic, so I'd have to do some kind of paint app to that, maybe chrome like the carburetor housing here. Let me know in the comment section, folks. Should I or should I not have an alley looking polished Cobra? So please leave a comment down below if you want to help me decide, or if you just like what you see. And if not, please consider liking, sharing or subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you soon with pack 3 of the Cobra on Scholesy's Scale and Schematics.